keeps on trying to get me to pay for things. Not doing that. Make sure that I'm up on everything. That all my channels are working. My channels. Yeah. Okay. It seems that I'm recording. So, we should begin. All right, Democrats do not seem to be able to deal with real arguments against their positions, and Republicans do not know what the real issues are. Restaurants in Detroit are too white, but the free press knows how to fix that problem, and the answer may shock you. Or maybe not, if you've been paying attention at all. Whitmer is receiving pushback from the Michigan Supreme Court, which seems to be pretty good. She's trying to skip the lower courts with the abortion thing as Democrats lose their minds progressively more and more about this upcoming Supreme Court decision. But she's got pushback from the Supreme Court. We're going to find out a little bit about that. We shift from government to find out what nonprofits can do, and we see the inability of the government to fix problems and how nonprofits and individual people not using taxpayer dollars do much more good than the government ever can. COVID is back, and the media almost pushed masking again, but they backed off real fast. Also, if abortion becomes illegal in Michigan, we will be back in the 1840s, people. Better get your horse and buggy ready. And finally, we'll see how our Ottawa County reps voted. I'm Anandon, and this is the Holmes Politicast. All right. So, I'm back again. Yes. Groan, wail, gnash your teeth. But I am back with the Southwest Michigan news of politics that you need. So, yeah, I take breaks periodically just because I can't follow politics consistently without just becoming unable to express myself graciously. So I take a little break every now and then, as I've done, and I just get super busy. I thought summer would be less busy. Turns out it's not. Summers might be more busy, especially if my father-in-law keeps on going in and out of the hospital. That makes summers a little bit busier and a little bit more stressful. So I am back now. We're going to take a look at some things. First off, I didn't mention this in the opener, but look at this. Another video of, so we looked at a few videos of people making multiple trips to Detroit drop boxes. There was that really overlarge black lady that was coming across the street. There was a postal worker. We watched both of those videos, two of them. So this is the third one. I'm not going to watch the video, but again, you see, City of Detroit. Look at right there. Yeah, you can see it. City of Detroit. Official drop box, and allegedly this woman makes 4 trips to it in one day. In 2 days. Excuse me, in 2 days. So nothing wrong with the whole postal voting system. Obviously, everything's fine. Nothing to see here. We don't need any more regulation of that than we already have. Moving on. So, Abdul El Sayed made a couple of comments, and I graciously responded to him. Well, I think graciously anyway. Maybe I didn't. Maybe it was totally out of bounds for me. But we're going to look at it, and you can decide. Every year in America, 45,000 Americans die by gun. That includes 19,000 plus murders and 24,000 deaths by suicide. Now imagine calling yourself pro-life and refusing to do a darn thing about that. Now, a couple problems with his argument. Number one, most of the murders take place in Democrat-run cities. So Dr. Abdul El Sayed is a Democrat, very vocally a Democrat. How does he account for this discrepancy in his viewpoint? Well, he doesn't. Yeah, and then 24,000 plus deaths by suicide. Like, again, Democrat run cities, people are suicidal. I don't see how that. I mean, Dr. Abdul El Sayed, obviously, of course, is welcome onto my show to discuss these statistics, to discuss what Republicans are supposed to be doing about the murders and suicides in Democrat-controlled cities. But I'm not seeing the argument here that he's trying to make. Yes, I do call myself pro-life, but I don't know what he wants me to do about that. Maybe I mean, so he had another thing that yeah. So another pro-life bash or anti-life argument. I don't know, pro-abortion argument. I guess. 192 GOP Congress people voted against funding to address America's baby formula shortage. How come they're only pro-life when it's about taking away women's rights? Well, again, we have this problem where nobody's ever shown where women have the right to abortion. That's never been clearly established. And I think Democrats, obviously, they don't want to talk about this. They, again, Dr. Abdul El Sayed, more than welcome to come on the show. More than welcome to explain himself. I don't see that happening in the near future. Maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong about a couple things, as we'll see coming up. I didn't think abortion would be, or Roe versus Wade would be overturned in my lifetime, but that's looking like it might at least be a possibility now. So funding against, or voted against funding to address America's baby formula shortage. Number one, I know nothing about America's baby formula shortage. I don't have a baby, and I probably, I think, my wife and I plan on breastfeeding at least for a little while. But what is legislation? What is funding going to do to address America's baby formula shortage? Are we gonna have people out on the streets handing out baby formula? Are we gonna give it to are we going to give it to places like Alpha of Grand Rapids that does like charity work and helps new mothers and stuff like that? Like, what exactly is his argument here? Well, there isn't one. It's just they don't want the government to have money, so they're not really pro-life. It's just a sham. So this argument, I mean, obviously it gets tiring and it gets old. Democrats often will say that pro-life positions are ridiculous because they don't care about people after they're born. Well, that's not true. We just don't want to give the government money to waste because that's all they do. And we'll see that, obviously, in just a little while. I have an article showing that people do a lot more good than the government has ever done or will ever do, because the government is a political machine. It is meant to rule the people. It is not really designed, nor is it efficient at helping the people. So that is where private charities come in, and that's been the role of private charities for a very long time. As I've constantly argued, no Democrat will come on to answer those objections. I welcome them. I would love to talk to them about these objections, but there seems to be very little interest in defending those positions. So that leads to a little bit of good news. We had the Supreme Court may very well be overturning Roe versus Wade, which is awesome. Like I said, I never thought that would happen in my lifetime. Never thought that it was even going to be considered in my lifetime. So, oh goodness, I've got allergies. So I've had like 2 sinus infections, and I've just got stuff sitting up there constantly. So forgive my nasaliness and my occasional sniffs. Um, so speaking of Roe versus Wade, Detroit News or the Detroit News, excuse me, seems to think that if Roe versus Wade is overturned, it would send the state back to the 1840s. Chad Livengood, Craig Mauger, all these guys that purportedly work for a right-wing paper, or at least a centrist center right-wing paper, are definitely plugging the pro-abortion side. So again, we have very little news media that will actually fairly talk about the abortion debate. I try to do it as fairly as I can, but it's really hard to be fair to it without sounding like a jerk, right? Because the pro-life side argument is that is a baby, that is a child, and that we shouldn't kill it. So it's really hard for Democrats, especially, to interact with that. It's obviously the media is mostly Democrat, so they don't interact with it very well. But this argument seems a bit silly. So, I mean, I guess it would send Michigan's abortion law back to the 1840s. It wouldn't send the entire state back to the 1840s. And obviously, I make the joke, you better get out your horse and buggies. But that seems to be what they imply, is that all technological advancements, all government progress, all progress made is hinging on this legalization of abortion. Now, they forget the fact that Roe versus Wade was decided in the 70s, so really Roe's End would send us back to the 1970s, not the 1840s, because this law, whether or not it was in place, it was put in place in the 1840s, whether or not that was real, the law held up until Roe versus Wade. So, just repealing Roe versus Wade will send us right back to, the law that was on the books beforehand. So, let's just take a quick look at this story, see how silly it is. You have to be a subscriber. Okay, so we're not even gonna bother with it, because you have to be a subscriber to see it. I'm not going to subscribe to the Detroit News, but you see where your news media gets their opinions from. It is mostly from Democrats, and it's not very fair. I think my constant drumbeat has been, we need news media that is going to be fair to both sides, is going to let both sides have the opportunity to speak. And so, that's where we're at. We need news media that will allow both sides to speak and allow this argument to actually take place, rather than just slamming pro-lifers and saying, well, you don't care about life after birth. All right. So moving on. When I say both sides are unserious, Wood TV8 seems to agree with me. And why I say that? Well, Democrats are serious about what they want, right? They're serious about some things. They're not serious in the fact that they cannot engage in a serious discussion with people that they disagree with. Republicans are not serious because they are not willing to talk about real issues, right? So we've got inflation, obviously, and that's all Republicans can talk about is inflation. And inflation is bad, yeah. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, man, I don't like paying $4.50 a gallon of gas. That kind of stinks. But also, we have bigger problems than that. All right, I will gladly pay $4.50 a gallon of gas, until we can get Joe Biden out of the White House and we can get somebody that will allow oil drilling to happen again in the United States if our lawmakers would just focus on things that the voters want. That's all we're asking. It's just to have our representatives represent us. Now, the big issues are the CDC controlling businesses. Okay? We should not have unelected bureaucrats making laws, controlling businesses, telling us when and when we cannot work. We should not have the government's not going to do anything about individual businesses deciding that they have vaccine mandates. They're just going to have to lose all their workers and find out that maybe vaccine mandates aren't the best. And there's government recourse for that. You can get an exemption. That's not hard. It's not super hard to do. So private businesses do whatever you want, but the government should not be forcing any of that stuff. We need laws in place that will hold back the unelected bureaucrats from controlling our lives. We don't need this silly pennies tax relief. So the latest attempt from the Republic. So we come to the article that I have here. The latest attempt from Republicans in the state legislature to provide what they call inflation relief in the form of tax reductions is not meeting with any more support from the governor than plans she previously vetoed. So they've offered to her multiple plans. We'll just read. In the House budget, we accounted for a $1 billion tax. And then just today on Friday, we found out about a revenue estimating conference that found out that there's billions more available than what we knew about. So it makes a lot of sense to cut people's taxes right now and give them back more of that money, since it's billions of dollars more than what we were projecting, Hall said. Now the governor put forward a plan that gives families a $500 check one time. I don't consider that a serious plan, and it's kind of a gimmick, right? Governor Whitmer said that the one-time $500 rebate to Michigan residents can be delivered quickly. They need relief right now, and that's why I proposed a $500 tax rebate. We could do that in a matter of days and get that in people's pockets. What the legislature did yesterday, unfortunately, isn't serious about giving people relief right now because it doesn't even take effect until next year. So they're arguing about a petty $500, and you know what? Yeah, $500 would be great, but maybe not taking 20% of my paycheck would be great too. I like more the tax repeal. But again, as I've said, we have bigger problems. Leave taxes alone, Republicans. Every Republican right now needs to be running on the fact that Democrats have openly said that they want to have sexual conversations with kindergarten through third graders. That should be the main thrust of any Republican's candidacy. And it is on some. Some people have been using that. They've received pushback from the media. They've received a lot of twisting of their words from the media. The media is totally on the side of the Democrats. So obviously we've had some Republicans back off. I think it was Lena Thies that we talked about. Maybe don't call people like child molesters or pedophiles, because that implies that those people themselves are engaging in some kind of act with these children. So that goes overboard, and it overstates the point, and the media will slam Republicans for that. All you have to do is run on reality. Democrats refuse to speak out against kindergartners through third graders being sexually indoctrinated inside the classrooms. They are voting against bills for that and speaking out against bills for that. That's all we need. Garrett Soldano is leading in the polls right now, I think. Don't quote me. No, he might be second or third. But he came out of nowhere, just running on the fact that bureaucrats should not be controlling everything that the people do. I think these are the winning issues. Republicans, the Republican voters, yes, they care about taxes, but they care much more about the government getting back in the arena that the Constitution gives them and not taking for themselves all power that they get a whiff of. All right? The government doesn't give up power easily. We need representatives that will get rid of that power in the government before it gets too great. All right? So neither side is serious. I think we've got some serious Republicans right now in representative, areas or representing us. Oh no. Okay, there we go. So we've got some serious Republicans. I think a lot of them are not as serious as we would like them to be, though. So Republicans, step it up. You're not getting my vote. I will not vote for just people that are going to talk about taxes. I just won't. And I think a lot of other Republicans kind of operate in the same way. They may not exactly express that, but if all you've got to offer us are tax cuts, people probably just won't get out and vote. So both sides need to step it up, take our freedoms a little bit more seriously, and take what they are supposed to be representing for us a little bit more seriously. Okay, so Detroit, of all places, has too many white people. There are just too many white people in Detroit. Now you may say, well, that's silly. And yes, it is. But what we've got here, somebody has noticed that the restaurants are all white. So Lindsay Seagreen looks to be a black woman, is very concerned that there are only white people in her restaurants. Now, again, as I've said before, if we just stop putting emphasis on color, we wouldn't have this problem. But she has a solution. We're going to get all the white people out of the restaurants. Oh, wait, no. We want to encourage black people to be in there. So, how do we do that? Well, she says that we need to make all the restaurants reflect the community that they're in. So, what's the answer? Hire black people. That's it. And, oh, wait, no. That's not the answer. So, she starts off. That's the answer. We need to hire more black people. But, let's see, where is it? Okay, so people feel comfortable and welcomed where they feel represented, she said, adding that age and sex are factors to consider when thinking about diversity. One way to begin to create a welcoming environment, Loya said, is to diversify the serving staff. The first faces a diner sees when entering a restaurant. When you come in and you see someone that looks like you in a space, you feel at ease, she said. Well, I can't get away from this idea that there's a problem there. If you need people to look like you to feel at ease, there's maybe a personal problem there. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that, if I were the only white person in a bar or in a restaurant, that I'd feel totally at ease. But, if they had good food and there's not fights everywhere and there's, it has good music, that's not going to drive me away necessarily. So I think when we're raising our next generation, it would be helpful if black people didn't see representation as something to hold on so tightly to, right? I was never trained that, if a place is mostly black, it's got to be bad, or or I should feel uncomfortable there. I was trained in the opposite way. So, yeah, that. It seems a bit concerning. Um, so she goes on to say, where is it? Ah, she goes on to say that what though is the comfort level for a worker at the restaurant without broader methods for diversity and inclusion? So not only do we need to have more black people on the wait staff, but we need to train our businesses um, to cater to those people to make them feel welcome. Which I guess again I'm not arguing that that's a bad thing, but why would they feel unwelcome? She says when it comes to diversity, it's not just about checking boxes and hiring more people of color. She challenges business owners to uphold practices that are supportive of black and brown workers. You can hire them, but then your practices internally are oppressive enough that there are microaggressions left and right, and they are disrespected, and they are not given support that is indicative of an understanding of where they come from so they can succeed. That just doesn't make any sense to me. When you look at the word microaggression, micro means unable to see with the unaided eye. So you need help to see these aggressions. It's a fitting name, actually, but I don't think what they were going for. Saying that they're disrespected, that just doesn't make any sense to me. Are people going up to them and calling them derogatory terms? Like, could we get like examples of these? No, we can't. Because there are none. There's just microaggressions left and right, I think we've lost the ability to even have a conversation about this because I mean if any leftists were to see this, they would just say, "Oh, you're blaming black workers." Well, not really. I'm just saying that teaching them that microaggressions are the worst thing in the world. I mean, maybe a microaggression is so small that you can just let it go, right? I've experienced, I guess, what I would call a microaggression. I'm not sure. I just kind of ignore it sometimes. Sometimes, yeah, it really makes me mad, and I have to take a deep breath and talk to my wife and be like, okay, I need to let this go. So I guess it is human nature to just hold on to those things, but holding on to sins against yourself isn't necessarily going to make for a better workplace. So she goes on, this oversight risks high turnover rates or worse, a toxic culture for black food service workers. Well, I guess, yeah. Yeah, there is a toxic culture for the black food service workers, but I don't think it's coming from the workforce. I think it might be coming from the fact that we tell them all the time that they should hold on to these aggressions, that they should really internalize them, that they're effects of racism. Not every jerk of a person is a racist. Sometimes they're just jerks. I'm a jerk. If I was inconsiderate to a black person and then they considered me racist, well, I guess you can, but that's not what, it doesn't make somebody a racist to be a jerk. We can't just keep calling everything racism constantly and expect the black population to succeed. If they see racists everywhere, I don't think that will necessarily make it better for them. And we've seen that race relations have deteriorated since the rise of race. What do they call it? Critical race theory, and since the rise of these ideas that we need to consider the racism in everything, race relations have gotten worse. There's no doubt about it. So I don't know. Maybe there's a correlation there. I suggest that there is. If somebody's going to suggest that there's not, I'd love to have on a Democrat willing to talk about it. All right. So we move on. This might be a little bit of a short show because I just am going to be short because I can. So give me just 1 second. I'm going to fix this so that I'm frozen on this scene. I've still got this video capture thing. Still doesn't necessarily work right all the time. So I've got to change it and then go back. Yeah, okay, there we go. Now it's working correctly. So now I think I can switch between these screens. This one never freezes, but this is the one that freezes. So this angle, a little bit better because my face, my ugly mug is more concealed so that you don't have to look at it. So we move on. So this one was interesting. I saw this headline a couple days after seeing the headline saying, are we going to need to run around in masks again? Let's see if I can find the other headline. News, let's see. Oh, yeah. CDC urges masks in 22 Michigan counties as COVID-19 transmission surge. We saw, let's see, wear masks indoors. Officials urge mask wearing again as COVID-19 leaps 24% in New York. There was one from WXYZ where they were like, oh, should we be wearing masks again? Let's see. Dr. Nadi. Yeah. I can't find it now. Unfortunate. Okay. So, once again, the media was pushing like, oh, we need to be wearing masks again. And then, so that's kind of an unpopular opinion at this point, I think. Maybe not. Maybe it's still a very popular opinion. But they seem to be reversing track here. So with every surge, the COVID-19 virus gets better at evading our immune system. In Michigan, cases are back up in the red zone. Uh-oh, that's just terrible. I see that everybody's very concerned about it. Well, no, that was just the media that's concerned. Okay, never mind. Omicron infection does not produce a very strong immune response, so protection wanes quickly, which opens the door for another infection, maybe 3 or 4 months later. WXYZ's chief health editor, Dr. Parthanati, says, he says originally breakthrough cases were thought to be rare. I've actually heard of some folks getting infected for a 3rd or 4th time, he said. Wow, that really goes against the idea that this is killing everybody, but I never believed that anyway. This is why experts say it's so important to get swabbed when you aren't feeling well. This week, the Biden administration says people could order a 3rd round of free at-home COVID tests. Oh, goodness. Yay, we're paying for more COVID tests. Let's test more for the virus that we can't see and don't know whether or not it's there. So these tests are getting a little wearisome. I'm tired of them. I think we should just be done with them. But I'm not in charge, so we're going to keep testing. We're going to keep on finding that virus in a bunch of people that don't even know they're sick. And that will, I guess, continue the media's crusade to have the CDC controlling us. So the Michigan Supreme... Oh, we're going to move on now because I'm done with COVID. That's what really... that's one topic that I'm just so tired of talking about. 2 years later, we're still talking about COVID. I'm curious as to when the media will finally let it go. Probably when they have something equally as captivating to the public as COVID was like last year and the year before. I think they're going to squeeze every drop of public attention that they can out of COVID. It's just wearisome for some of us. We're just like, stop. We're done with COVID. But I guess the media is not. All right, so the Michigan Supreme Court. We move on to this. Governor Gretchen Whitmer was asked by the Michigan Supreme Court to provide more information on why the justices should bypass a lower court and immediately consider her arguments challenging the constitutionality of the state's dormant abortion law, the one that's going to send us back to the 1840s. The justices sent a series of 5 largely procedural questions in a Friday order to determine if Whitmer's arguments are ripe for consideration by the High Court. The order from the Michigan Supreme Court came a few days after the Court of Claims judge issued a preliminary injunction in a separate case from Planned Parenthood, putting a pause on enforcement of Michigan's long-dormant abortion ban should the 1973 Roe decision be overturned by the U.S. Supreme Court. In the Friday order, the justices asked the governor to clarify whether the preliminary injunction in the Planned Parenthood case earlier this week eliminates the need for immediate consideration from the Michigan Supreme Court or whether an actual case or controversy is needed for the High Court to consider an issue. So what is that saying? Let's see. That's a bunch of jargon that I guess probably nobody really knows what that means. Basically, they're saying. I think they're saying. Let's see. The preliminary injunction in the Planned Parenthood case eliminates the need for immediate consideration. So I think whether or not the opening arguments are, or to clarify why the opening arguments are so egregious that it needs to go straight to the Supreme Court. Now, I don't know exactly what the heck's going on here. I'd love to get a representative of the people on here to discuss it. That'd be great. But Democrats are totally unwilling to talk to any media that's not state-sponsored and state-run media and state-loving media. Republicans seem hesitant because probably they can be easily misquoted. They can easily be taken out of context. And I've noticed that sometimes when they get on media that is not explicitly left-wing, they get in trouble because they're looser with their analogies, they're looser with their opinions, and they end up saying dumb stuff. Now, not all of them, but I think a lot of Republicans recognize that the more words you have, the more chance there is for you to sound dumb. I do it all the time. You guys can witness that. Every time I do the show, I say dumb stuff. But I think that's it. Either way, I would love to have a Republican come on here and explain to us what's going on. So we continue. In addition, they asked the Whitmer team to elaborate on the circumstances allowing for the High Court to take up an issue in response to a governor's executive message and whether the governor is limited under the executive message rules to questions in the defense of the law rather than calling them into question. So, should the governor actually be trying to uphold the law rather than destroying it? That's interesting. I like that question. I like that the Michigan Supreme Court has asked it. And finally, the justices asked whether it was appropriate for the state high court to weigh in on the issue before a U.S. Supreme Court decision on Roe. So, yeah, is it appropriate for us to be considering the demolition of a law before the U.S. Supreme Court has even decided? Yes, it is a little inappropriate. I don't think Democrats are really worried about whether or not it's appropriate, though. They're just kind of shooting it. They're throwing mud at the wall right now, seeing what they can get to stick. They are trying everything they can to get rid of this abortion ban law before they, like I said, they're in full panic mode. Their hair is on fire. They are up in arms. They want this thing gone because if Michigan becomes a pro-life state, meaning that their abortions are outlawed here, number one, all of the Planned Parenthoods would have to close down. They would have no business. And that would kind of give the lie to the fact that many of them do anything other than abortion. We've seen before that they outsource all of their other services that they provide, services provided to other people, they basically only exist to do abortions. They try and sell you on an abortion. If abortions are illegal, there is no more Planned Parenthood in Michigan. So Democrats, I think, are a little on edge about that. They're a little scared that there's going to be no more abortion clinics. For what reason, I'm not sure. I mean, it was, number one, it would save the government money. We wouldn't be sending all this money to abortion clinics. I think we would have to find other ways to distribute it, I guess, to places that actually help women keep their babies. That would be great. I'm super in favor of that. I'm going off on a tangent. Let's get back to the thing. All right. We reviewed, Whitmer's office said Friday, it's never been more important for the High Court to weigh in on the question of the constitutionality of the state's abortion ban, so clarity can be provided to women across Michigan. I don't know what's unclear. There's a law. Abortions are illegal. If the Supreme Court says that it can't make abortions illegal countrywide, then why would the Michigan Supreme Court be able to say that they can't make abortions illegal statewide? Right? If this question is being considered in the courts as to whether or not they can strike down laws like this, with no clear constitutional reason or constitutional intrusion on the people that it's affecting, then the state court cannot do the same thing. If the United States Supreme Court cannot make abortions legal countrywide, then why would the state be able to make it legal statewide? I mean, I guess there's arguments there, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It's pretty clear. Everything's pretty clear, all right? So it's not about clarity. Whitmer's, again, throwing stuff at the wall, seeing what'll stick. We are reviewing the Michigan Supreme Court's question and welcome the opportunity to inform the court of the need to resolve this crucial constitutional question now, said Bobby Letty, a spokesman for Whitmer's office. Well, Bobby's welcome on the show. I would love to talk to him about why this is such a crucial constitutional question, why there's so much confusion. Yeah, maybe he'll take up the offer. We'll see. When Whitmer filed her lawsuit in Oakland County Circuit Court in early April, she also sent what's called an executive message to the Michigan Supreme Court, asking judges to consider her challenge to the state's 1931 abortion ban prior to litigating the issue in Circuit Court. The executive branch is supposed to execute laws. Executive branch. The legislature makes laws. Why is the executive branch trying to strike down laws? Again, doesn't make any sense. Not their job. They're supposed to be putting these laws into practice. If the people want to get rid of that law, that's on them. But obviously, Democrats are furious that this is happening at all. Actually, I don't think they were ready for it. I don't think Democrats were any more ready for it than I was. Well, maybe. They're always ready to try and defend abortion. And they may have foreseen this this development a little better than I did. I mean, they're always saying, Republicans are trying to take women's reproductive rights away. So it's possible that they are very ready for it, and I guess, actually, we're seeing that they're very ready for it. They're throwing whatever they can against the wall, seeing what'll stick. So they've got all kinds of things in the works, but we move on now. The government is very worried that they won't be able to, help women by providing abortions. And yet, WXYZ Detroit shows us that this Michigan nonprofit is giving a lot more aid to people than the government, I think, ever could. I don't see the possibility of the government ever providing a van, a wheelchair accessible van for any family, let alone a family every 3 months. Okay, so we come to this WXYZ report. A Michigan nonprofit organization that has been helping children with limited mobility for a decade has launched a handicap accessible van giveaway. Lori's Voice, based in Ottawa County, will be giving away a brand new wheelchair accessible van every 3 months to families in Michigan. Lori's Voice was founded in 2012 in the Grand Rapids area and has been helping families with costs that insurance doesn't cover, like accessible vans, home renovations, and educational resources. The organization says it's helped more than 600 children by contributing more than $1.7 million. Whoa, full stop. They've helped 600 children by contributing more than $1.7 million. The government dumps untold billions, at least, of dollars into help, social safety net things, social programs, and generally they just make things worse, right? You start a program where, if you're poor, the government feeds you, and all of a sudden you have a bunch of people taking advantage of the system. You have people that they're totally able-bodied, they're totally able to work, they just don't want to, so they have the government feed them. I've met these people, I've talked with them, I know them personally. There are people always on disability that should not be, right? The government creates a bigger problem when they try to help. Places like this, they actually help people. They look at the family, they say, oh, you've got a child with a wheelchair. Let's give you a van. Let's help you build a ramp to your house. Let's get educational resources to help you as a parent help your child better. So we say this, we hear this argument, Republicans, they're only pro-life until, the baby's born, and then they'll watch him die. I will almost guarantee you that that Lori's Voice, I'm just not going to say anything about it. What I will say is that this is a private person with no government funding, presumably, very little government funding, if any, doing a lot more to help the people of Ottawa County than Gretchen Whitmer is ever going to be able to do. Not because Gretchen Whitmer doesn't want to, but because that is not what her job was designed for. Her job was designed to execute laws that our legislature makes. Her job was not designed to take your money and give it to somebody else with the claim that they need it. All right, so that is all of the news that we've got. We're going to do something a little fun today. So, First Class by Jack Harlow is the number one song on what is it, Billboard Top 100 Hits? Yeah, okay, so we're going to look at the top song for this week, First Class. We're going to try and make sense. We're going to try and make sense of some of these lyrics. Find out what is our culture being influenced by. So, chorus, Jack. Intro, Jack Harlow. Profound. So chorus. I been a G, throwing up the L. Sex in the AM, uh-huh. OROUS, yeah. I don't know what any of that means. Maybe I need a teenager around or something to explain some of this to me. I don't know. I'll have to ask my wife later if she knows what any of it means. I doubt it though. So the first line makes absolutely no sense. And I can put you in first class up in the sky. I can put you in first class up in the S. You know what? I'm gonna see if there's different lyrics because I don't know if this is supposed to be S. I'm confused a little bit. Is this really first class up in the sky, first class up in this up in this. I'm probably not gonna listen to it on the show because you know what? Actually, all right, we'll listen to a little bit of it. See how amazing it is. It doesn't look like there's any expletives here that I need to be.
I've been throw up the sex in and I can put you in. I can put you in. I've been
Okay, so that's what it does. Up in nuts. So they're just not finishing the word. So then we go back to I've been a G, throw up the L, section the A, Yamaha. All right. So, oh my goodness. I can see the whole city from this balcony. Back in 2019, I was outside freely, but now they got it out for me. I don't care what frat that you was in. You can't alpha me. Keep dreaming. What does that even mean? Oh, goodness. I'm not reading this next. Okay. All right. We're going to have to stop right there. We're not going over this next line. It just doesn't make sense. Okay, so this is our culture's high art at this point. Cool. So, well, that was a total failure. This is awful. I'm not going to read this. So goodbye to that. Now I guess that's all, folks. Bleep. So yeah. Oh, one more thing I almost forgot. Okay. So good thing we had that little cultural moment together because that reminds me to look at this. Okay. So here's how your local state lawmakers voted on legislation this week. This is important. We want to look at our local lawmakers. So here in Ottawa County, we're going to look at this. House Bill 4568 cut state income tax $2.5 billion, passed 2214 in the Senate to cut the state income tax rate from 4.25% to 4%. Authorize a $500 non-refundable child tax credit. Increase the amount the state adds on to a federal earned income tax credit for low-income households that owe no taxes from 6% to 20% of the federal amount. I have no idea what that means. So Senator Roger Victory voted yes on that. So maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. I'd love to get Roger Victory to explain, some of the things that happened in the Senate, but he seems like he's a pretty solid dude. So, all right, lower age to sell or serve alcohol passed 25 to 11 in the Senate to change the law that prohibits a person younger than age 18 from selling or serving alcohol drinks. The bill would lower the minimum age to 17. I got no problem with that. I guess Senator Roger Victory doesn't either. All right, mandate certain merchant disclosure on eBay type sites. Passed 37 to 0 in the Senate. All right, I guess, yeah, that one's popular. I'm fine with that. Yeah, if you're selling something online, you should probably explain, or you should probably disclose all the things about the thing you're selling. So, let's see. Grant taxpayers $500 inflation relief payment. Passed 6934 in the Senate. Let's see. This file tax return. This looks like. Oh, this is the thing that Whitmer's gonna veto. So Whitmer said that the lawmakers aren't going with her inflation relief, but it looks like both of our representatives voted yes on it. It's in the bill that they're trying to pass, but she's vetoing it anyway. Okay, that doesn't make any sense. Investigate expanding nuclear power to generate electricity. Passed 85-20 in the House. You know what? I like this idea. I've talked about before. I think I may have talked about it before on the show. We should be looking at nuclear energy. We really should, because it's cheap, it's clean, it will provide way more power for way less emissions. If we're going to go the green route, we need to be looking at nuclear power. So this is awesome. I'm super excited to see this. Both of our representatives again voted yes, so that's great to see. All right, so Representative Bill Huizenga voted no on the Consumer Fuel Price Gouging Prevention Act. Voted yes on Department of Veteran Affairs Office Inspector General Training Act. Let's see. Infant Formula Supplemental Appropriations Act. He voted no on. Yes, very good. Maybe we'll look at that and see just how out of touch Democrats are. So either way, you can go on to Grand Haven Tribune, or you can go to Michigan Votes and see how your state representatives are voting. I strongly encourage you to do that. So with that, we come to the end of our show. Thank you for joining us. If you liked what you saw here, go ahead and smash that like button, I guess. Share us, subscribe to the channel, do whatever you think is necessary there. Again, we are the only right-wing political show. Well, no, not the only one, but the only one I know of. There's Justin, what's his name? But he does a lot of national stuff. He doesn't focus on our local politicians. So if you want a right-wing show that focuses on our politicians, that's going to be fair to Republicans, that is going to call out Democrats for their ridiculous mischaracterization of every single thing that we say, this is the place to get it. I'm Anon Don. Peace out. Hope to see you again very soon.